I'm like a glowing being. Check me out. Angels sing when I appear or something.
I was saying, you're glowing bean, all right. What?
Welcome to that knitting show. So, Erin, how you doing?
I'm all right. I got a lap full of knitting.
You do. I feel like my lap is not as involved as your lap.
Well, I got like bigger things probably.
Yeah, and more things. I didn't bring as much with me.
Well, you were the instigator on a few of these, so.
So, we're back from Shetland.
And Maryland and Connecticut and New York and where else?
Did we talk about Connecticut?
We were
on the
going.
last one?
Yeah, because you were awesome to help me pack all that up, and now you get to see what the day before is really like.
Yeah. That was a lot of work.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
So you had a double-sized booth at the Connecticut Sheep and Wool Festival.
It was enormous.
And that's just a one-day festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like a full day of work getting it set up, and then the show, and then it's like get out of there again.
Yeah, I think Casey and I packed it all up in an hour.
Oh gosh,
like, she
that's
was
amazing.
She was a machine.
She
like
was like, I'm out of here.
She's like, this is why we go to the gym. I'm like, okay, yes it is.
That's fantastic. So, and then you were at Maryland.
Yep.
And I didn't really get the lowdown on how that went, so fill me in.
Well, we drove down. Marin Melchior joined me, Marinja Knits, and we finished this just in time for Maryland. This is her Stingray Shrug. It's awesome because it's all brioche, and I was on such a brioche kick that I didn't even notice when I was supposed to change to seed stitch.
You just kept going.
I digress. Sorry. Yeah, so we drove down to Baltimore in the pouring rain and got my sister who'd flown in to help us. Mm-hmm. And then we get there, and you're never sure exactly what the booth configuration is going to be. They give you a space size, but we had an I-beam going through our booth that we weren't expecting. Oh. So we made two little alcoves. So there was a critter corner, and then there was another one that had the yarn in it. So we just had to reconfigure how we were going to display things. Yeah. So that worked out. Good. And hoping we can get a bigger one next year, because then there's more room, just to spread out, and we can, do some fun things with the building structure. So yeah. So people who came out to see us in the pouring rain, real troopers. So that's got some good ideas for next year and having fun with the mud.
Yeah.
So Marin's already designing, which I love.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Inspired by Maryland mud. There were lots of stories coming out of there about the rain. And I guess overnight there was a lot of wind, and some of the pre-set up booths got damaged.
Because we were in the main exhibition hall, which is at the bottom of the hill. It's a big Morton-style metal building. So that was pretty secure. You also have the choice of being in one of the sheep barns, which has, plastic around it, but otherwise it's an open barn. Uh-huh. And then there's also, you can bring your own tent if you want to set up your own booth and be down in one of the corrals or in one of the parking lots. Mm-hmm. So a 10x10 pop-up tent, you anchor it down as best you can.
Yeah.
And
then
hope Mother Nature helps you out. And she was not happy.
No.
So I know a few people that scored some good deals on yarn, like 10% off because it got muddy.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for the designers, but what can you do?
So you try again next year.
Out of it.
That's farming, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So anyway,
and then after that, you weren't busy enough. Then you were on the plane to Shetland, right? We had our Makkin our way through Shetland tours.
So relaxing. I just get on a plane and I can go to sleep. This is awesome. When I wake up, I'm in Scotland.
Yeah. So what did you think? How did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it very much. Anne and oh my goodness, Jolene. It's here. I'm gonna blank what the most important are such good planners. They've included everything, so you didn't even have to think about where you were gonna find dinner. You turned us loose to. We found an Indian restaurant, which was awesome. That was called
Saffron.
Yeah. So
they're good.
Anyway, so we were wandering all over, and everybody was from a different place and a different age and stage in their life and how active they wanted to be, and we just kind of all meshed in a small group, which was really cool. And you found things to talk about with this person, and then we were all being responsible grown-ups and changed seats on the bus so we could meet someone else and learn about something different. And I've got a couple of projects.
I love that. Like, we didn't even make a big deal about that or ask people to do that. The group just naturally did that. They just naturally shook it up amongst themselves. A couple
instigators among us.
Yeah, but everybody, you know, was happy to meet other people, and the group really felt very cohesive by the end, I thought.
Yeah, I think you're pretty good at the beginning too. Just, you know, like, oh, what are you wearing? What did you knit? Where are you coming from? What do you like to knit?
I mean, you get like 12 knitters together.
You'll find something.
You got something to talk about.
And let's see, then there was such a neat introduction to Shetland in terms of trying a little bit of everything. And my background and what I do during the day is very much like visiting all these small crofters, because it's that kind of agriculture that I work with regularly. So that was very exciting for me. And it just...
You got to do the same work in another country, but it wasn't work, it was fun.
Well, when you like it, right, it's not work.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. So just how people do things differently, how they set that up, what is, you know, what's it like to farm or croft in Shetland. And one of the things that we don't think about is the change in latitude, because 60 degrees north.
Right.
And what does that do for daylight, first of all? So it was 11 o'clock at night before it was thinking about getting dark, which is awesome. So I'm like, oh, 4 o'clock, it's light, let's go. And it's like, breakfast is at 7:45. I'm like, what? But also, so that's fantastic for growing vegetables, actually. However, I was talking with Ronnie at Uradale. He said, I have a 100-day growing season.
Yeah.
So when you think about the diet of places, and finding a salad in the UK is kind of hard to come by, and even more so in Shetland, in my limited experience. But it's because vegetables
local salad,
right,
yeah.
Right, but if your growing season is not long enough to accommodate the vegetables that I am used to in my growing season in my climate, it's going to be difficult to get them.
Yeah.
So also learning about how Chris Dyer from Garths Croft showed us his greenhouse, which was, I'm learning so much, I'm mixing up things.
It's a polycrub.
And it's made from recycled stuff from the
salmon farms.
So fishing, as opposed to recycled steel pieces, because that was another project.
Yes.
Anyway,
so it's the salmon farms up there. It's a giant round tank, yeah, sunk in the ocean, and the salmon are inside. And they were just, when it was done, they were just throwing those away. So they decided, well, if we split that in half and put it on its side, it can be a greenhouse. And so you see all these greenhouses all over Shetland where people are able to extend their growing season dramatically because of this wonderful recycled use for the salmon materials.
And he was saying that they could reliably get 100 degrees Fahrenheit in there in the summer.
It was hot already.
And fruit trees, full-grown fruit trees inside, which is pretty amazing because, you know, we often talk about that here, and what would the infrastructure need to be in order to raise food inside?
Yeah.
And when you're doing it for yourself, it's very different than if you're trying to do it for, you know, the whole neighborhood or the whole state or whatever scale that is.
Well, that was when we were in Iceland in April. We would be driving along and see all these massive greenhouses, and they were quite proud there that they were able to raise so many of their vegetables. But it was like a traditional greenhouse, like the glass houses, and much larger scale in order to make it work. So this allows, like you said, like a family could raise their fruits and vegetables.
And I think, from what I understand from Iceland in the geology, that because they are such good users of geothermal heat, because if we did that here, traditionally it's relying on fossil fuels to heat greenhouses. Right. So think about just putting fuel in your car right now if you need to heat a greenhouse all winter for that. And most of the greenhouses are growing ornamental plants, so they're not starting up until, you know, January, February.
Yeah.
So just, again, with the behind the scenes, what goes into the production and what resources do you have to be able to make that work for you? So
yeah.
And then I got a fantastic color lesson. It was only like a little part of the class.
We can show our things.
So you finished yours. I haven't shown mine off yet.
Mine just got done yesterday. So this was from our class with Janette Budge.
Very cool.
Who talked to us about color, and then also this is from her yoke bag class.
Yeah.
So the shaping here is similar to how you would shape a Fair Isle yoke, but you're doing it on a much smaller scale, and you get to pick the colors you want to use too. So Janette gives us a lesson on that.
So surprise, at night they pass around at the first dinner, pick a ball of yarn out of the basket, and I'm like, well,
you don't know what it's for, just pick it.
Just pick it. So I picked green. Well, it's Morehouse green, and also I figured I would, take a hit for the team and take one of the dark ones.
Yeah, I ended up with the dark one too.
Well, just looking at the mix of the group, like I don't mind knitting with dark yarn, even in the dark. I can do it by feel. Not everybody's comfortable with that. And then, well, actually, it was Jolene that saved the day with a whole bunch of yarn from her stash, right? So,
right.
Jolene?
Yeah, in a time of COVID, we had, Janette woke up feeling a little under the weather.
So better safe than sorry.
Ended up not having COVID, but it was better safe than sorry situation. So Jolene got called on at the last minute to sacrifice all of her yarn to bring to us.
It's convenient. It was everything that we needed and a lot of different colors.
I know, yeah.
But it was also like the kitchen show chopped. And like, here's the green, match this with whatever Jolene happens to have in her stash, which was really fun and challenging. And in terms of, okay, what goes with this green? And now you're going to hear me gush on about colors, right?
Go for it.
It's a yellow green, which is very different than most of the hues of blue because she seems to like cooler colors rather than warmer colors.
Well, she likes purple. That's like her main favorite color. So there were a lot of shades of like purple and like deep red kind of things, but then very bright colors also. So there were lots of like joyful colors as well.
It was an awesome mix.
Yeah.
I had just started with the green already,
right?
So I was committed. So that's where it was kind of like the game of chopped. Of okay, what's here that I can mix this with? And I'm trying to hold this in the light that you can see, not in the blown out sunlight. So I started finding this coral, which has warm tones, which goes with the green, and then I always feel like in the best Fair Isle designs, there's always one color that doesn't quite go. It has to be in your face. Pop. Yes. Yeah. Well, and I'd say like, oh, which of these things is not like the others? Right. So for me, that was this bright yellow, and just playing with different ones. There's also a very subtle color change behind the middle. I don't know if you can actually see that because it's that subtle. And doing this once, would I do it this way again? No, probably not. But I have learned so much in this for what would I do differently if I was going to do it again. And I think
it's so pretty how it turned out. I think you did a great job.
Thank you. I like it.
Especially given what what you had to work with. I think it came out really well.
And it taught me a lot about like what would I do differently next time, and finding those colors that are warm or cool and which ones go together, and how much of a gradient you want when you're going to do, light, medium, dark, what the reverse of the background needs to be. Do you want your star to be light in the middle or and dark on the outside, or the reverse? So whoa, there's just a lot going into this. And now that I've done it once, awesome. I'm excited to try it again. And I think so many of us are afraid to try something like this because we might screw it up. Well, guess what? Screwing that up is like how you learn what you would do differently. Right. So you got to be willing to, as Amy would say, suck at it for a while.
Yeah.
For a day.
That was one thing I appreciated. So we also went to Wilma Malcolmson's studio, and she and her granddaughter Terri were there. And when you go in, there's all of these bulletin boards along the wall and then leaning against the wall that have all these absolutely gorgeous swatches of Fair Isle on them. And you just think, oh my goodness, these women, they're just like masters. And they are. But you get the impression that they just like come up with them, immediately.
Sure, it just appears at the show.
Yeah. And Terri or Wilma, one of them, made the point, like, you're seeing the finished ones.
Right.
You're not seeing the ones like how we went through it 7 times before, or a dozen times before, until we got one that we really, really liked. So even the masters are failing at it, and we
trying,
can call it
experimenting.
Failing, but yeah, exactly, experimenting with it before they find the one that really works for them.
If I had done this, or this was prescribed for me in a pattern already put together, I would not have noticed these things that are very subtly done. So I'm really excited by how much I was taking away from this. So that was really cool.
So don't be afraid to play with color, is what we're saying.
Or different patterns like we might talk about later that are be a little challenging, or cutting your knitting.
Oh yeah, that was our next class, huh? So we had Barbara Sheen, who is a Fair Isle knitter there. She used to work with Wilma Malcolmson, actually.
Cool.
And she's been all over the world traveling with knitting, like for the purpose of teaching Fair Isle. And we had a class with her on steeking, which is cutting your knitting, and that's what it's called really locally, cool. Actually. So we knit this as a cuff, and then there's 2 different ways that we finished it. So this way is where you do a surface crochet chain along the side of it and poke the ends under and overstitch it. This is the more traditional Shetland way, where you just cut it and fold it back on itself and do the overstitch. So I don't know if you can tell, but this one is a bit bulkier than the crochet method here. Let me see if I can. So this is the traditional method. This is the crochet method. They both work effectively. It's really a matter of preference.
And where you're going to put it.
And right. Where you're going to, yeah, you might want something more sturdy along a buttonhole maybe, or not a buttonhole, a button band. Or you might not want that bulk along your button band. You might want that to be a crochet one so that it's a bit as fluid as the rest of it.
Because in examining...
Let me get your little visitors off of you.
Thanks. In examining the sweaters after we took this class, just in general, and then she'd brought one, then it was just so neat to see the body of the sweater made, much like the one that you brought home, and then the knitter would take that, put it on the needles, and make the yoke. And that was Janette's other comment was, hey, if you do like, 4 bags, you've knit a whole yoke, so how about it? In that most of them seem to be the smaller crocheted version, and we've done those, in a couple of other projects. So it was just neat to see how this ends up in different places. Like this was the instruction for the Harriet's cowl.
Right, to do the traditional turn.
So I did that
version.
Way, yep.
Yeah.
And then
and a lot of people up there still do it, and a lot of people have learned the crochet method and they've given up the quote unquote traditional way and they do the crochet method because they prefer it. So we have to remember, like, they're dynamic knitters too, right? They're learning different things, and
some people take a sewing machine to it, right? So,
yeah, exactly. And some people needle felt it, before they cut it. And then, yeah. So there's all sorts of different ways, but it was fun to learn these 2.
And I met Harriet.
You did. You did. Yeah, we had a Makkin night, a knitting night with a lot of the local knitters, and you got to sit with Harriet.
Because we had the same word.
Yes.
Smorkin.
Smorkin, little kisses. So, yeah, we decided, so we had some of the local mackers, the local knitters who came to one of the hotels and had some refreshments with us and spent a couple hours knitting with us. And I think that might be like up there on like one of the favorite experiences for most of the people on the trip. But we wanted to make sure that the local knitters didn't cluster together and the trip participants didn't cluster together. So Jolene put
it was her mom's idea.
It was her mom's idea, actually, yeah. But Jolene put a Shetland word on each of the tables, and then as we came in, we had to draw the Shetland word out of the bag, and then that's how we knew where to sit. And then people had to ask their local new knitting friend, what the word meant. And hopefully that got the ball rolling for everybody. But looking around, it looked like everybody was just having a great time.
It was very loud.
Yeah.
So we knew it was going well.
It was going well, yeah. I ended up with Eunson at my table. That was fun. I'd actually had a class with her, and I emailed a few times back and forth, but I never actually had a chance to chat with her. And she's kind of an icon, like if you're into Shetland lace, she and her sister are like the pinnacle.
And if you're not into it, you know her because she knit a fence.
Yeah, she did the knitted fence. And so she sort of, I had a bit of fangirl feelings about Eunson. So I was actually kind of nervous when I realized I was at her table. Like, oh, I hope I'm not a nerd, I hope like this goes okay. And she's like totally approachable, very humble, very kind, it was fine.
And then I'm the weirdo that like, hey, we see her later and everyone's like, knit fence. And I'm like, bluebells. We're talking
Tell me about your flowers.
We're talking gardening, which was a blast.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, sorry, I digress again.
Yeah, so the last project that we had as part of the tour was when we went to Uradale Farm and we did the fairy cowl. Some of you may have seen this before. I actually teach this as a class with Vivica Villapulai of Uradale Yarn. I teach the class and she does, we do it in 2 sessions. The first session, she does a talk about Shetland dialect and knitting words. And then in the second class, she talks about the organic farming practices that they do. So we're actually going to be repeating this during Shetland Wool Week. So if you want to join in with that, keep an eye on the Uradale Yarns Instagram and my Instagram, and we'll have information on how to sign up for that. I'm just going to let that go by because I know that's
There's a C-130 passing overhead if you were wondering why that's so loud all of a sudden. So always be happy it's not the F-15.
So we took the passing massive airplane as an opportunity to switch to where the sunlight wasn't on us. The sun shifted on us as we were filming. Anyway, we're back. So we were talking about our trip to Uradale.
Yeah.
Where Ronnie brought not all the sheep. He brought some sheep up, talked to us about their Shetland sheep. Mm-hmm. And then we went inside and Vivica gave us the Shetland lecture. And while we were doing that, we worked on the fairy cowl and got that started. I finished this while I was on the trip, but I didn't block it until I got home.
Dress it.
Yep, didn't dress it until I got home. You'll get told off by certain Shetlanders if they don't like the sound of block. But I just steamed it, which I haven't done for a long time. I've been wet blocking everything. And man, that was a nice reminder of how quick and easy that is.
I love that with color work because it just does
and be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
gives it a...
yeah, so it starts and ends with moss stitch, and that was like poking up weird and curving and
was on a different size needle too.
Yeah. But I steamed over that and it like flattened right out. I was like, oh, steam blocking. I have missed you. So anyway, that was fun.
Cool.
That was a fun day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you went home. And then we had Lace Week, but you're going to come back for Lace Week.
I am.
I'll give you a little preview of what we did. So first of all, at Uradale, Uradale's one of the few places we actually go back to during Lace Week because we wanted to keep it, unique so people could do both tours and not do a lot of overlap. So this was our project for Lace Week, and I just barely finished these last night. So this is the lacy evening gloves.
Feel a ball
if
coming
that's
on.
not what it's called, I'll put it here. And this I don't believe is available as a kit yet, but will be available as a kit. But we were able to start working on these. It's very basic Shetland lace in the round.
I feel like I
you
saw
can
them
actually
on
do
our
it
website.
flat. You can do it flat. The pattern is flat. I changed it to on the round. And then Vivica is more bird-like in construction than I am.
Oh.
I'm more like a French workhorse.
Shetland pony.
I'm more of a Shetland pony, and Vivica's more of a bird. So her lace gloves were much longer. Like she blocked them longer. And in order to get that same effect, I needed to add a repeat before the thumb holes. I did an extra half repeat for the thumb hole, and then I did another repeat after the thumb hole because I'm a bigger person. But I wanted to still have that long effect. The interesting thing is I tried hers on and they look long and skinny, but the thing with lace is that it will expand for you. So if I had done it as just her knitting, they were about this long on me.
Wow.
So that's why I did the extra, but they expanded to fit around my wrist. It's just that in expanding that way, they shrank this way. So anyway.
It's only so much area. It's got to go every which way. And
so that's that project. I quite like these.
So lest you worry about me calling you a Shetland pony, one of my customers called me one day and said, "We just had a beautiful heifer born. We named her Erin." So there's a Holstein somewhere named after me.
And then that's fun. And then in our other
something about my shape.
We had another class with Eunson and Kathleen Anderson, and oh my gosh, even if you're like totally afraid of Shetland lace, you're intimidated by it, whatever, take the class just so you can have the time where they show you their work, because they brought a bunch of Shetland shawls that they've knit that are devastatingly gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous. But we worked on a mini shawl, and there's mine, And I feel like once it's knit, I can stop calling it a mini shawl and call it a doily. But it uses the same construction as a traditional Shetland shawl. So in this case, there's lots of traditional constructions. In this case, we knit the edging first, and you do that as a long strip. And then you pick up along 1/4 of it and knit this part here, which they call the border. So it's like this. Mm-hmm. And then you do that 4 times. And on the 4th one, you knit the center square. Okay. And then it all wraps around that center square and gets attached. And you attach up the corners and you have a square shawl like that. So that was wonderful to be able to do. I'd actually had this class with them at Shetland Wool Week in 2019, and they didn't have us knit the edging first. And so no one got far enough along to finish the shawl. We had to just watch. Hi. Jules here. We had to just watch as they joined it all up. So in this class, we asked for the edging first, and that allowed everyone to have that done. And then everyone was able to finish and do that. Not yet. She'll come back.
Yeah.
So, and then one last one.
Yeah.
Our last class was with Rachel Hunter, and I'm not done with this project yet, but she taught us the traditional cockle shell. Do I have it the right way around? It's this way. Nope, I don't think it matters. The traditional cockle shell pattern. There you go. And so I have 2 repeats done. I'm going to keep going until this is done. And traditionally you would do like half of it one way, half of it the other way, graft it together. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm just going to go for it and be done. And it won't mirror each other. It'll just go all in one direction.
Design element?
Yeah,
perfect.
Design element, design choice.
Perfect.
So anyway, but I know you started working on a Eunson.
I did, because I found this really cool book, which I admired when it came out, and then as I was going through the patterns that were in it, I kept saying, oh yeah, I like that one. Oh yeah, I like that one. And you know, this is the only other book except for that Louisa Harding book, which we have totally fallen down on.
Yeah.
But it's okay, the heather wasn't blooming.
We can only, I mean, yeah. That's fall. We might catch it in the fall.
Sidebar. Remember how we were going to knit every pattern that was in the Louisa Harding book, still on the list, just to get there yet.
Still got 3 out of all of them done.
So this is the amazing Shetland Wool Week annual. So book full of patterns, which is lots of cool stuff in here. So the Muckle Ayre. Am I saying that right?
Muckle Ayre shawl.
Anyway, so that I decided, well, hey, I wanted to try something in Shetland lace and like the actual cobweb lace. That one's written for a little bit thicker. So I'm trying that out. And just because I want to be able to describe 2 of them side by side, here's one started, which I cast on it. I have to hold it in front of the dark color. Cast on at baggage claim.
Get it in the middle here. I think the forest works as a dark. Bring it up closer.
Oh, I can't. That arm doesn't work that way.
Oh, sorry. I forgot about that. So there's her start in the traditional Shetland yarn.
So that's the cobweb lace. Mm-hmm. And
the ultra.
Looking at what you have done in past projects, the 2-ply lace.
There's Jewel, by the way.
Standing guard.
Standing guard.
What's all that heavy breathing? Dog. And now I have to pull dog hair off of.
That's okay.
Said shawl.
Customized.
So I also decided to try in the Morehouse version. Here, you can hold it closer,
it's
maybe.
So fluffy.
So that actually, that shows up really well.
Look at that.
Cool. So that's showing up even more so like the pattern.
Well, it's slightly thicker.
Yeah. So it's a lot more like the actual lace that pattern called for. But I just
don't ever let me hold your lace again, Erin.
Whatevs. I'll put it back together.
I got it.
Really
silence. There we go. Oh, it's coming off the other end. You need longer needles.
This is why I can't be an influencer. Because I'm knitting efficiently. I'm not knitting to like spread it out and show people. So anyway.
Sorry, but we digress. Tell us about knitting it in the Morehouse.
Well, just in that is more the thickness of the original lace that we were seeing at both of the traditional yarn shops. And you were working on, maybe it was Loren, the shawl by Gudrun Johnston.
I've done
with the bird's eye
hers.
lace.
Yeah,
that one.
I finished that one.
Yeah,
a
but
while
that
back,
yarn, when you were working with it, I was noticing, oh, that's very much the thickness of our lace.
Well, that one is that's actually jumper weight, first clip jumper weight from Uradale, which is just a finer fingering. It's not the actual lace weight.
Okay, so I'm mixing them up again because I'm seeing too many yarns and getting excited about all of them. Anyway, you also had some lace. Maybe I'm mixing up the projects. And in looking at the similar weight, because our lace is a light fingering, so just looking at, all right, what is the structure of the yarn and how does that fit in with the pattern? And I'm just experimenting and, you know, apparently picked a crazy lace pattern that, I don't know, it's just been fun so far. And like you can see it's developing, right? I only just cast it on, I cast on the second one yesterday. So I was like, let's do this 2 at a time so that we have experiments to go with. So that might be a Rhinebeck shawl.
And speaking of your beautiful Morehouse lace, you just finished knitting a sweater.
Yes, I did. So.
And it's gorgeous and I love it. And it's going to be a project on the flock coming up this summer. So I'm very excited about it. Let me take this from you.
Thank you. So I cast this on while I was sitting at the airport at JFK. So, you know, you can do crazy things in the airport, right? Like cast on a sweater. And I was knitting this on our bus tours.
Yes.
And pardon me, the shoulder's acting up. That's why I'm moving like an old lady here. Anyway, so this is called Hitofude, and it's been on my list of things I want to knit for a long time, and I finally did. So it's got this really cool sort of like wing collar. It's got a chevron lace design, so it's really easy to memorize and really easy to read. But the coolest part about this, I should have done this before I'd put it on, is
that's okay.
You knit the sleeves in one big rectangle. And the way she has you construct them, it's got a provisional cast on, and then you do a 3-needle bind off to put the sleeves together, so no sewing. She has you work around the neckline and around, you can see the ribbon comes down here too, which goes around the back. So it's almost like you pick up around the body to make the neckline and the back. And then at the same time, you're now going back and forth down the bottom, which is what creates the length in the back. So it's all one piece. So you have an end to weave in at the beginning and an end to weave in at the end, and that is it.
I love that even more now.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
We have a special. If you want to try the flock this summer because you've not tried the flock before and you're wondering what it is, this is going to be something that we cast on July, I believe it's 13th.
Okay.
And it's going into August. So this, by the way, is a size small. It took me 880 yards, like 4 skeins of our lace yarn. You can also do it in, we have another one that I'd love to share with you that is much more like our old style lace. It's a little bit thicker, so we're going to call it fingering, short of having a better weight. So you have 2 choices of yarn for this. But I've done all the videos for that. I think Aunt will be proud of me. Like, they're all done. It's not even, like, barely.
You're planning.
Barely June. Like, she's rubbing off on me. So that's all good. And then we're going to meet once a week, just knit and enjoy and questions and work on the next section of this. And I love that this is a sweater you could wear all year round.
Yeah.
Like, we keep talking about Rhinebeck sweaters, and then it's
layering piece.
Like, big and bulky, and well, I love those too. And this one I can wear all summer and be super comfortable with. And kind of wishing I had it today. I went to the office and, you know,
the aircon, right?
Offices are made for men in buttoned up shirts, right? And I'm there, you know, my short sleeve.
And they blast the aircon, and you end up freezing to death.
This is perfect. And
dudes,
look at the way this drapes. Like, how cool is
it? It's so swingy.
How cool is this? And if you want to add length, that was the other. There's so many cool things about this. Okay, so if your arms are like mine and bigger than the designer, because that never happens, right? Only every sweater I ever knit. Easy to adjust. Just needs a little more yarn. If you want it longer, just needs a little more.
I think I would want it longer, a little bit longer.
Yeah,
like
so
maybe like looking at it, like maybe 3 repeats longer.
Yeah. So it because of the way it's constructed, the length in the back. So this is like to the top of my pockets, and it is meant to like curve up in the front because of the way it's constructed. But if you want to make it longer,
it just dangles.
Easy peasy. So so I'm super excited about that. If you want to do that as a standalone project, you actually absolutely can. And then we're going to do summer shorties like 1-hour classes on just a specific technique. So Karen asked for buttonholes because she has a beautiful sweater she got the yarn for in Shetland. So we're going to do that towards the end of June. Then we're also going to do a repair class, because what happens if you snag something?
Yeah.
And then number 3 is reading charts.
Okay.
Because that seems to be something that I keep running into where, oh, if this pattern's charted, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. And we're going to make sure you have all of the keys.
You know, I feel like, yeah, I resisted that for years, and then finally ended up with something I really wanted to knit that only came charted, and took the plunge. And now it's like, if it's not charted, I have no interest in knitting it. Like, I've totally flipped the other way, because it's a visual representation of what you're doing. So once you're comfortable with it, it's so much easier.
And there's so much information all in this one little chart. Like you can bring it with you and it's only this big, as opposed to like 17.
The pages and pages, of all the words. And then you have a visual representation of what came before. So it makes it easier to read what you've done, read what's going on in your knitting. And it's so much easier to catch a problem or a missed stitch or something, like, oh, I should be knitting this into a yarn over and I'm not. What's going on? Okay, find your mistake and get it fixed.
And then that gives you the ability, once you start knitting, if you have for instance, this one is lace every row, which you can tell because of the construction of those yarn overs. Hey, look, movement really does help. I can lean a little bit farther forward. See how there's only one yarn in between each of those, whereas
instead of an interlock.
So the crossing ones are when you have a knit row or a purl row across. So once you have that, like, that's one extra layer of, woo, something new to learn, something new to try. I can do the next step of this. So that,
I'm getting warm in this one.
I was comfortable. Put that one on too. So anyway, lots of cool stuff going on. Swatching was another one that's going to be coming at the beginning of this, so that you make sure you get the right fabric for your sweater so that it does fit you. And, you know, I just had so much fun playing with this, and I actually went up a needle size, which is very unusual for me. Usually
you're a loose knitter,
and
I'm a tight knitter.
And then,
so what am I going to have to do?
Well, swatch.
I'll swatch and find out.
So anyway, and like, this was a different color. This is over dyed. We saw a lot of this at Uradale also. Like, they did an amazing job of taking the different Shetland colors, which range from, let's see, the reddish brown was called Moret, and then there were different shades of gray. And they would take the white and then a light gray and then a darker gray and dye the same color over them. And it just gives the color such an awesome depth when it has that behind it. So this one I was playing with because it reminded me of the original one on the sweater. And can you see that okay?
You got it. There you go.
So anyway, just lots of fun things to be trying out here. So I hope you'll come join us. Okay.
Excellent. What else do you have? You brought a lot of stuff that you're working on. I meant to bring something I was working on, and I totally forgot it. I thought it was in the car, so I didn't even check. So I'm knitting just a very simple V-shaped shawl from, it's called a traditional Icelandic shawl. And it's just, you know, increases at the midpoint and at the end every other row. But it's dyed by a local dyer there, and she gave 6 balls of different sizes, and I'm just doing them in stripes. Nice. But it's been my car knitting, and so I recently discovered that I would just have it like in a bag at my feet and just leave it in the car. But I realized I could actually shove it into the glove compartment. So it's been my glove compartment knitting, and I just open it up and pull it out. And then when we get somewhere, I just shove it back in. And so I thought it was in the glove compartment, and it was not.
Oh, that means it got promoted and like,
now it's in the house somewhere, but I honestly don't remember bringing it in. So I'm going to have to go hunt for it.
Being helpful.
Yeah. So what are you working on?
Okay, so
because I don't have anything to share then.
So, well, this was my car knitting because I needed something to do on the way to the airport.
Can I squish it?
Yeah. So that's
squishy.
Just right the beginnings of Oaken, which is
so that would be the top.
A triangular shawl. It's also a blanket if you're interested. They have 2 patterns in one. So it's a triangle to start with. And this is just one skein in, and this is our Glenleigh. Actually, can you hold that side up for a sec? So That'll be the top. It's working into a V here. As you can see, again, with the Erin, you can't influence things because you have to...
You need longer needles.
Yeah. Anyway, so then here will come a strip of lace technique in worsted weight yarn.
Fun.
Right, because this is the Glenleigh, and like just love this rocket pink. So anyway, that's what's going to be on display at Rhinebeck. And yes, it's June. We need to be thinking about these things way ahead of time so that we can plan for what colors go together, and will they? And I think they actually.
I think that looks really nice together.
So this is what we need to talk about for Rhinebeck.
Yeah. So Rhinebeck plans have changed. I'm a little sad. I may not be able to make it this year, but it's for a good reason. Very good reason. Yeah. So my dad's getting older. My dad is one of 17 children, if you count 3 children from his father's first marriage. He is the youngest of 17 children.
Wow.
And
how many years between them all?
Not very many. Not very many.
Are there multiples?
But he's a twin.
He's a twin. Okay.
He has a twin sister, and they're the only twins in the family though. So last one, twins.
So you'd be like, yeah, there were 3 triplets, 3 sets of triplets.
Nope. Wow. You know, thank goodness for birth control is all I have to say.
It's like, grandma was quite a trooper.
Poor grandma. She was a spitfire. She was. You had to
be.
Anyway, but they're down to 6 siblings now, I want to say. Everybody's passing. I mean, his oldest brother just passed, was well into his 90s. So,
wow. You can't shake a stick at that. I mean,
yeah. I mean, but so my dad's wife, who I love, I've had a lot of stepmothers in my day. She's my favorite stepmother. But she has decided, it's time to have like a proper family reunion, and it's probably going to be like a last family reunion at this level. So she picked what day she could get at the place she wanted to get it, and thought it won't be a big deal because it's in October, right? And everyone can plan around it. And we saw them on Sunday, and I was like, what day in October? And she was like, October 15th. And I was like, no.
It's okay though, because it's going around, because Albrecht emailed me and said, yeah, so we have a family reunion in Arizona.
Same weekend.
So I will be at this little thing called Open Farm Day on October 14th at Morehouse Farm. If anyone wants to come join me, I'm going to need some help.
I probably can still do that. That probably won't be a problem. But Rhinebeck, I don't think I'm going to make it to Rhinebeck.
And then I'll be there. There's a little thing at the fairgrounds.
Yeah,
on the 15th and 16th.
I'm still going to do a Rhinebeck shawl, though.
Lobby for Sunday.
I'm still going to do a Rhinebeck shawl. And if you have already cast on a Rhinebeck shawl, that's still going to be a thing. There's still going to be...
Because we have plan...
Yeah, plan B. We have a plan B. We got to work it out with plan B person still, though.
No,
did you work it out? Okay.
She was in Germany and I was in Shetland, and our phones weren't working all that well, but we worked it out.
It got worked out.
So our friend, the Devious knitter, Amy Snell, is going to come to Rhinebeck. So she's going to be Anne's stand-in.
Thank goodness.
She is going to wander around Rhinebeck, help us in a booth, all that kind of stuff, looking for Morehouse shawls. And I think there's bonus points if you make one of Amy's shawls also in Morehouse Yarns. So let me just show you this. I've been drooling over this. So Victoria has been working steadily on this, and it's not blocked yet, and it needs the border, so please don't judge. It looks
it's so pretty
awesome already. So this has just triangle after triangle after triangle. So you're not knitting forever in one direction or another.
Build off each other.
Right. So one triangle here, then the next one. So, and then it'll have an applied border around the edge. So this is Amy's amberine wrap. It's yellow on the pattern, and we thought, wouldn't iris be an awesome color for it? So Victoria got me this far. Thank you so much, because I only have 2 hands and 1 shoulder right now.
Yeah.
So Amy is doing a shawl along
this summer. Yep.
This summer in her Ravelry group. So
there's a Facebook page for it too.
Yep.
I got an invite for that.
She has 4 shawl patterns. Amberine here. There is Lorelei there's something else with Laura. There's another, it's a longer name than just Lorelei. I'm blanking on it all of a sudden. And that's the one I'm going to...
put it in the show notes
Yes,
below.
that's the one I'm going to...
all 4.
I'm going to do that one in our 2-ply because I think that'll be gorgeous. She and I met up and talked about this when we were in Denver. And then she's got 2 other ones, one that she just got the rights back to. And yeah, there's 4 to pick from. So she asked if Morehouse would be one of the official
down below.
yarn suppliers for this. And I said, of course.
Sure.
So she's like, you didn't answer me right away. I'm like, I don't know what time zone you're in. Like, you were actually ahead of me, and I was worried about calling you when I got up because she's usually in California. So anywho, you are welcome to join in if you want to do a knit along with Amy there. Like I said, we're going to be working on sweaters. And what are you going to be knitting?
I have decided on my shawl. And if you heard the episode that just came out, I'm like, I'm not sure which one I have. I have it narrowed down. Well, what I forgot was when I was at Connecticut Sheep and Wool, I looked over and you had a kit for the Morehouse shawl, which I have been eyeing since it came out. And you had it in the natural chocolate brown, which is one of my favorite shades.
You did your Calvin sweater in that too, didn't you?
Yeah, I love this color so much.
Oh, that's very good
and
for
it's
you.
bulky. So size 13, I'm probably gonna have to go up to a 15, I'm guessing. So it should go
in like 3 days.
Yeah, it should go quick with everything else I got to knit. I'm like bulky, one I've been wanting to do, Morehouse chocolate brown. This is going to be the shawl that I do for Rhinebeck. I'll wear it to Open Farm Day. Maybe I'll get to Rhinebeck on Sunday, but that's not a done deal yet. But this is the one I'm going to be doing, and you can see it has that lovely cable down the middle, and otherwise it's just a simple, warm, squishy shawl.
And if you go to our Instagram, I do still have Amy, another Amy.
So many Amy's.
It's awesome. Like your name has to start with an A or an E. That's what it sounds like. Or V. Or a T. C. Oh, we got the whole alphabet here.
Letter. Right? We got letters.
We got letters. So my friend Amy, who she does a benefit calendar, and she wears like 1950s dress, and it's for
cool.
Armed Service veterans. Anyway, so she's got the modeling chops, so she volunteered to walk the runway for us in Make It With Wool when Vanessa's shawl won second prize in the adult division, which was just awesome. And like Amy knows her stuff. So anyway, we videoed it, and she was strutting on the stage.
So go find that on
Instagram.
So
just if you want to see that in action, and then even cooler, the way that she styled it was kind of very Outlander, like hands-free. So
yeah, like crisscrossed in the front.
Yeah, or like I think she had it belted. I don't know if she actually had it crisscrossed.
Oh yeah, I think she did. I think I remember that now.
Because she's tall like you are, so like it fits differently than it fit Vanessa. So
yeah, Vanessa's tiny.
But Vanessa's wearing like a coat or like a wrap, so
it's gonna be like here on me. I might be contacting you for like 5 more balls just to make it longer. So anyway, that's coming up for me.
Awesome.
To knit. And you already talked about tons of your stuff that
sorry, I just got on a roll. So this one will be happening, right? It's worsted, so that goes really fast. And then I'm gonna be sitting hopefully in the woods next week and see how much progress I can make on both of these.
Lovely.
And found these Knit Pro needles at the little yarn shop on the street. And was just very excited. Actually, it was really funny. Of course, I don't have the bag in front of me anymore, but you talk about the colors that you're attracted to or the colors that you're wearing or whatever. So these needles are also the same color as the bag that I knit, the Janette Budge class. I'm just looking down at them going.
That was like a recurring theme on the
It's everywhere.
Trip. Yeah.
I found this.
When you had to pick a color, people would pick colors, and then we'd be like, it's what you're wearing already. Yeah.
So we love it, right?
We know what we like, right?
So anyway, I am excited and hopeful to have one of these ready. Like, how cool would it be to display one of these at Rhinebeck or Open Farm Day?
That would be amazing.
So, and just like how the same shawl looks so different in different places.
Oh, sorry, Jewel.
What, you want to come play?
So what do we have coming up? What do you have coming up? You have Rhinebeck coming up in October, but between now and then,
lots of work.
Lots of work. You have the stuff coming up for the flock. We talked about that through the summer. Different projects that already got mentioned. And
if I can wrangle some help, because we were doing festivals for the spring, so I didn't have a chance to do Spring Open Farm Day, but if I can put on my most persuasive help, or put on my most persuasive
What's coming at
self.
me here, Erin?
No. Like, one, it's got to be okay with Albrecht first, but would love to do a pop-up shop.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a little afternoon thing of like,
That'd
you
be
happen to
great.
be in the neighborhood. So make sure you're subscribed to the Morehouse Farm newsletter so you would get an invitation there.
We just got dive bombed by a butterfly. I don't know
That's
if it was
pretty
low enough
awesome.
on the camera or not.
Wow. Look at the size of that thing.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's like this big. Wow.
Hey, sorry, squirrel?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry, pop-up shop at the farm.
With butterflies.
With butterflies now. It's a sign. So get on the mailing list for Morehouse Merino.
And the other thing that I'm doing,
we'll have that below so
Yep.
you can follow in case that happens. What else?
I'm going back to Shetland.
Yeah. So that what was that?
You forgot.
Yeah, we have our next Shetland trip coming up mid-August through the beginning of September. Then I'm going to leave Shetland for about a week. Then I'm coming back for Shetland Wool Week. I'll be teaching there again, the class with Vivica, as I mentioned. But, I mean, all of that's already booked and happening in fall. Mm-hmm. July 15th, though, we will be announcing the information for the 2023 Makkin Our Way Through Shetland trips. So I will say
Countdown on.
that there will be 4 weeks of trips in spring from mid-April to mid-May, and there will be 4 weeks of trips in the late summer from mid-August to mid-September again. 2 of them are the Fair Isle and Lace tours. So it'll go
like it did already.
Those are already established. We got some feedback from tour participants, so minor tweaks going to happen, but for the most part they're going to be the same. And we're working on a 3rd trip that is, I can't tell you. You got to wait till July 15th. I'm very excited about it though.
So when do we find the 4th one?
It's a little different. Oh, well, it'll be a repeat of Fair Isle.
Oh, okay.
So Fair Isle, Lace, Fair Isle, those are set, and then I can't tell you about the 4th one yet.
3rd one. It's a numbers problem here.
Yeah. 4th week, 3rd tour.
At the end.
It'll be at the end, most likely. So what's going to happen is July 15th, we're going to give out all the itinerary and pricing information. July 18th, if you are a patron at patreon.com/IthoughtIknewHow, you will get first dibs at booking a spot. The 19th, if you are on the mailing list for, if you're on the waiting list for the tours, which you get on by contacting Jolene at info@islandvista.co.uk, and you've told us that you're traveling with a friend and you want to share a room, those people will get the link at that point. The rest of the waiting list will get the link on the 20th, and then on the 21st it will be open to anyone else to fill up the rest of the spots. So those are the dates. Mark your calendars. They'll be down below.
Cool.
So very excited. We're getting the final touches on all of that right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So that'll take us into fall. So is that everything, I think?
I think so.
Did we cover everything?
Yeah.
We'll be back at some point.
Places strewn around the yard. So working on, since it's June, right? The June things in the flock, and July, and then your big announcement.
Yep.
So that'll keep us busy for the next 6 weeks.
That's going to keep us busy, yeah.
Yeah. And because Amy's shawl alongs start July, I think 23rd, like the week after our sweater starts.
Right.
That would be, it's kind of what I'm
some
scheming
busy knitting
with.
time coming up.
Well, and I'm kind of scheming like that would be the ideal time for the pop-up shop, right? So like you could come pick it out in person.
Pick your colors. Awesome. Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So, cool.
That's it, guys.
Okay. I'm
We'll
tired
see
of
you
just
when
talking
you
about it.
Bye, everybody.